ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वदी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि. In the last session, we have discussed in detail about pranayama and its role in regulating our mind. We also discussed with pramanam, that is evidence for the effect of pranayama on our mind. So we have considered one ancient text and also the modern science. In the last session, one of you asked whether pranayama can clear samskaras or vasanas. I said as per the pranayama we discussed so far, it will not clear, but it will clear if you wait to complete the discussion of all slokas relating to this topic. The Yoga Vasishta supports the statement that pranayama clears samskaras or vasanas. So the metaphor in the Yoga Vasishta, for this, an example of two seeds, bija, for the tree of the mind. Dve bije Rama Chittasya Pranaspandana Vasane. Ekasmincha tayo kshine Kshipram Dve api Nashyataha. So the mind has two seeds. One is the movement of prana and the other is the latent tendencies, that is vasana. When either one of these is weakened, both quickly come to an end. That's what the sloka says. Now coming back to our discussion, did you practice pranayama as discussed twice a day?
Yes, Maharaj.
What are your observations?
It helps in calming the mind quickly. So it is a helpful thing to do.
Good. So we discussed in the last session to do only basic pranayama. So that involves deep inhalation, comfortable retention, slow exhalation, followed with again comfortable retention. So but if retention difficult thing or something you feel like that, or it is not suiting with your structure, then you can skip that. Even then it's okay. Even with the basic pranayama, the pace of our thoughts will reduce. Then is pranayama that we have discussed so far, is it enough for those who are interested to access changeless peace? To know the answer for that, we should first know the effect of pranayama on our mind. What will happen to our mind if you regularly engage in pranayama? So that is answered by Ramana Maharshi in the next sloka. Sloka 13. Laya vinashane ubayarodane laya gatam punar bhavati no mritam. Laya vinashane ubayarodane. So pranayama has two distinct effects on the mind of the practitioner. One is layam and another is vinasha. Here one is layam. Layam means merging of the mind or suspension or dissolution of the mind. Then the second is vinasha. Vinasha means what? Complete destruction of the mind. Two things here. One is layam, another is vinasha. What is the difference between them? Between temporary suspension and destruction, that we need to see. In experience, how does that be? Ramana Maharshi is saying, Layagatam punar bhavati nomrutam. So mind that has been subject to dissolution or suspension will again gain strength and it will rise up to its earlier state. We all are very much clear about this as we have first-hand experience about this process. We all experience this state of entering a mindless state every day where
Deep sleep.
sushupti, and then again we are back with it on waking up. So in deep sleep, the mind seems to cease completely, no trace of it. But on waking, it again presents itself as it was earlier. So this is only called layam. This we need not explain further. And what is meant by the mind that has undergone vinasha, that is destruction? Sloka says, mind will not be restored to its earlier original state. That is the important thing here. So what is happening here? If the vinasha happens, then the mind is not as before. So they both are poles apart. In one, the mind goes into a brief hibernation, only to emerge as it was earlier. No change. In the other, it ceases as such, without a trace, and hence never arises as it was before. You have to note those words very carefully. It will not be there as it was earlier. So now if you are told to select which one among these two possibilities do you want to achieve, what would you choose? Layam or Vinasham?
Vinasham.
Vinasham. Why?
Because Laya, there is no transformation.
Correct. What is the point in selecting Layam? As we are anyway achieving that in deep sleep without any effort. And also it is a mere waste of time for one whose goal is to own unchanging peace. Here there is one important point to note. Even though we are using the example of deep sleep, we should know that this layam of the mind is possible through some prevalent or famous sadhanas too. Can you name some sadhanas where the practitioner ends in layam, that is brief period of suspended mind?
Like Bhava Samadhi in Bhakti Sadhana?
Bhava Samadhi, correct. There are some more. Here we should know what are all those sadhanas where you get into this laya. Why? They are very fancy and you may fall for them, leaving everything. There are many, but we will discuss few which are very much common and which many of you will come across if you are moving around in Himalayas. So the first one we will take pranayama itself. So this advanced breath control focuses heavily on kumbhaka, that is intentional breath retention. Either antar kumbhaka, that is holding after inhalation, or bahir kumbhaka, holding after exhalation. During this prolonged period of kumbhaka, the biological fluctuations that the body usually have, they all will slow down. The movement of prana, that is the vital energy, it will be steadied, causing the thought waves to temporarily freeze. This will induce a natural, brief suspension of the conscious mind. This is the layam that pranayama will bestow. Then you have Trataka. This is the classical Hatha Yoga meditation technique wherein there is concentrated gazing is there. This sadhana acts as a bridge between physical action and mental stillness. So the practitioner here gazes steadily at a single object. Sometimes it can be flame also. Most commonly, that is a steady candle flame at eye level. Without blinking, you need to watch it until tears flow. Even then you should not stop. But if it becomes unbearable, some can continue, some cannot. Then there is one more way for them. When they close the eyes, you need to concentrate intensely on the after image left behind in the mind's eye. So here, by locking the visual sense to a single point, the brain's sensory processing, it will slow down. The intense focus that is needed here, that will exhaust the mind's tendency to wander, leading to sudden collapse into a thoughtless state. This is the layam that is achieved through Trataka. Then comes Japa sadhana. Japa sadhana also can bestow laya. So here this practice uses sound and rhythm to tire out our wandering mind. So the mind gets tired. It begins with conscious repetition of a mantra. This gradually progresses to ajapa japa. Ajapa japa means the mantra becomes effortless and aligns automatically with the natural rhythm of the inhalation and exhalation. Nobody need to tell you that you sync your japa with your breath. It happens. Eventually what will happen? The practitioner stops doing the mantra. The mantra simply happens on its own. The repetition becomes so rapid or so subtle that the interval between the words disappears. The practitioner will get pulled into a blank, peaceful suspension where the mantra and the practitioner, that is the meditator, they both dissolve. This is the layam from Japa sadhana. Then you have some mudras also. The Shambhavi mudra, Bhairavi mudra, all these are there. These are all advanced yogic mudras, gestures involving internal and external focus. Shambhavi mudra, eyes are directed slightly upward, gazing between the eyebrows, Ajna chakra. The eyes, they look, but they do not focus on external objects. Because the eyes are fixed but unfocused, the mind stops labeling things. It stalls the thinking mechanism, creating a brief, pristine gap of mental suspension. This is the layam that is achieved through these mudras. Then comes bhajans. So those in the path of bhakti connect with their beloved through the medium of bhajans. So the layam that bhaktas attain during bhajans, what is it called? Bhava laya. A state where the mind completely dissolves through the sheer intensity of emotion and devotion. Both are there. When someone is deeply engrossed in singing bhajans, several factors will converge to create this suspended state of mind. What are they? So there are various things that are coming together. We will discuss this in brief because we should know this in detail. You are here sitting trying to understand Ramana Maharshi's views on attaining changeless peace, and some of your other co-sadhaks, they may be in ecstasy and you may be tempted. What am I doing last 2 months? Instead of this, I also, if I could have gone that side, I also would have gone into ecstasy. These thoughts can come up. So that's why we need to know this in detail. So what is happening in this bhajan? A few factors are there. One is the rhythm of the bhajan, tala. Bhajans are built on cyclical rhythms and repetitive notes, musical notes. As the bhajan progresses, the tempo often increases and the repetition of the deity's name becomes faster and more intense. The mind naturally hooks onto this rhythm. The repetition fills up the working memory entirely. When the bhajan reaches its peak tempo and suddenly it stops or shifts into a silent hum, what will happen then? The mind, having been completely synchronized with the fast rhythm, is left with nothing to cling to. it suddenly drops into an absolute standstill state of layam. Yes? Have you come across people who say that after singing bhajan I went into layam? I heard once from the singer itself. And he feels, and all those around him also feel, that is some exalted state. So this is one. Then one more reason is there. That is the emotional ecstasy. This is bhava samadhi, which you mentioned. So bhakti uses emotion as fuel. So the devotee channels all their love in the form of longing towards the divine. When an emotion reaches its absolute maximum capacity, the ego can no longer sustain itself. So the boundaries between the singer and singing and the deity to whom the singing is being sung, they all begin to blur. At the absolute peak of this emotional flooding, we have to say, the mind temporarily it will shut off out of pure ecstasy. The breath slows down, thoughts stop, and there is brief period of suspended state of mind that will take over. Then you have the role of music or sangeetam, that is also there. So during a vibrant bhajan session, multiple senses are engaged simultaneously. Vocal cords are vibrating, ears are filled with music, hands are clapping, and the eyes might be focused on an image or closed in deep feeling for the deity. This intense engagement actually overloads the ordinary thinking mind because the brain is completely saturated with the sacred sound and feeling. It naturally shuts off all the external worldly distractions. Where there is scope for worldly distraction, you are fully occupied. There is no part of your being that is left unoccupied. This triggers a spontaneous state of withdrawal. See, pratyahara is not a big thing for them anyway. So they get into that pratyahara immediately as soon as the bhajan reaches its peak. When the song pauses or it ends, then what will happen? The internal faculties are already turned so deeply inward that the mind rests in a quiet void. So that is the layam. These are the three main ways that the bhakta achieves bhava layam. In the bhakti tradition, this is considered one of the sweetest ways to experience layam because it doesn't feel like hard work. You go into the bhajan hall after having your breakfast and all are ready there to take you into layam. There is no hard work there. Only you need to have devotion and faith and love. So the mind isn't forced into stillness. It is charmed into dissolving by the beauty of the music and devotion. These two are there on one hand, but most important on the other side, you need to have the love for the deity. That is very important. So these are the 5 laya sadhanas that are very much prevalent here. Anybody who is in this path will come across all these. Hearing about them, one can get tempted to initiate one of these 5 sadhanas and achieve layam. So as soon as this topic is over, you all may get tempted for laya sadhana. So that's why I don't want to stop it here. I want to end the topic by pointing out drawbacks of laya sadhanas. What are the drawbacks of laya sadhana? Means the laya sadhanas, the practices aiming for mental dissolution or suspension, they offer profound peace and taste of deep stillness. But still, all the great spiritual masters, they have outlined distinct drawbacks, risks, and limitations if these practices are pursued as per the fancy of the practitioner. So we look at the important drawbacks and pitfalls of focusing solely on laya. First is there is a trap of tamo laya. This is the biggest risk in laya sadhana. Here the practitioner confuses a state of dull, semi-conscious, inert state, which is equivalent to deep sleep, with spiritual absorption. I had to really debate with one brahmachari to bring him out of this. He is really convinced that he is having some higher states. When there were not mobile phones with cameras, it was difficult. If now it is very easy to convince by showing him how he looks during that laya. So in laya, the mind dissolves, but if one is not sharp, the mind will simply slip into subconscious void. So the practitioner will wake up feeling refreshed, but no actual spiritual transformation has occurred. The mind that is simply blank or sleepy is stagnant. The mind dissolves, but if one is not sharp, then what is the use? What is the use of getting stagnated like that by entering into void? The mind that is simply blank or sleepy is stagnant. So this is one trap of tamolaya. Then second, the vasanas, the latent impressions, they remain intact. This we can understand with an example. Think of the mind like the muddy water. So what will happen? You take a glass of water from the flowing Ganges in Gangotri and you leave it there. What do you see there inside? Muddy water. In Laya, what will happen? The mud simply settles to the bottom because the water is perfectly still. That's all. However, the moment the practitioner comes out of the practice and interacts with the world, then the mud gets stirred up again. So the mind becomes active. Laya suppresses the ego rather than burning away our deep-seated conditionings like the vasanas and samskaras. So the net result is what? Our anxieties, anger, attachments, they all return exactly as they were before. No change. That is the second one. Then the third, there will be addiction to the blank state. The brief period of mental suspension looks immensely or incredibly peaceful, free of worry and blissful. So it can become highly addictive. Practitioners can become addicted to the blankness itself. They may seek out laya as a form of spiritual escapism to run away from life's responsibilities or psychological issues. So this creates a state of stagnation where the seeker stops progressing towards actual self-realization or towards accessing the changeless peace. On the other hand, this one is content to sit in a peaceful, non-functional void. We can find some of those within this category getting addicted to dwelling in caves. So this is one drawback. What is this drawback? Addicted to a blank state. It doesn't stop there. Then there is this drawback of psychological disorientation. Forcing the mind into this suspension can have adverse effects on daily life. Continuous forced suspension can dull the sharp analytical faculties of the intellect, buddhi. So the practitioner might find experiencing lack of motivation. See, if there is anything like this, don't think you are climbing the spiritual ladder. Then there is some problem. There is some psychological disorientation. So here a practitioner might find experiencing who are into this such sadhanas. They will have lack of motivation one side. They may have a mental fog or difficulty focusing on practical day-to-day tasks. Why? Because the mind's natural sharpness has been dispersed. So the people around, they will label these people immediately as Siddha, Avadhuta, Paunch Gaya. So many are there. Titles given to them. I hope you all are clear about these 4 drawbacks of practicing Laya sadhanas. Yes? It is for this reason the true masters or gurus, they will always emphasize that Laya, a dissolution, must be balanced with vichara and jnana. So Laya prepares the ground by making the mind quiet. But it is the light of wisdom that actually clears the darkness. Here you may have a doubt. If there are so many drawbacks in these Laya sadhanas, then how come our country has produced number of saints who have achieved unchanging peace in life or Jivan Mukti through Layam in their Ishtadevata? Yes, this question can come. See, when a devotee approaches Layam or mental suspension through love, it is not a dead-end void. In the true bhakti sadhana, the practitioner mind doesn't just dissolve into blankness. It dissolves into the form of the beloved deity. So this total absorption, it will bypass the danger of tamas, dullness. Because the mind is kept intensely luminous and awake by the fire of devotion. How do you know if this is happening like that or not? This will culminate in darshan, where the deity ceases to be an external idol or concept and it becomes a living, vibrant reality to the consciousness of the devotee. So once darshan is attained, the path undergoes a profound shift. So the deity is no longer an object of worship. The deity will assume the role of the Sadguru, see, the true inner guide, because the deity is essentially cosmic, the all-knowing consciousness, Ishvara. They know exactly what the devotee needs next for ultimate liberation. So they do not let the devotee stagnate in a temporary emotional high or simple suspended state of mind. Instead, what do? They begin to instruct, purify, and push the devotee towards the ultimate realization of non-duality. We have an example in the form. It is not very easy to get some examples like this. In the form of Sri Ramakrishna, we have an example whom we all adore. So Sri Ramakrishna's life, it will perfectly illustrate this. Sri Ramakrishna had intense, agonizing love and worship for Mother Kali. So he had achieved the highest state of bhakti. He could see, talk to, and feed Mother Kali. So he was constantly in emotional absorption, bhava samadhi. So this is a different kind. How do you know if that is really a bhava samadhi or it is the same as what we discussed earlier? Here comes. What happened after that bhava samadhi? Mother Kali herself took the role of a guru who internally directed and commanded him to go beyond her form. Maybe the mother felt there is still a final step to take. Then you know what happened later. The wandering monk came there, Totapuri. He arrived at Dakshineshwar. He was sent by the deeper cosmic design to initiate Sri Ramakrishna into the path of Jnana and Vichara. So when Totapuri asked Sri Ramakrishna to withdraw his mind from all forms and merge into the formless absolute, Sri Ramakrishna failed to do it. The moment he sat in meditation, the beautiful luminous form of Mother Kali would appear before his inner eye, and his mind would stop there in ecstatic laya. Then what did he do? He took the sword of discrimination, jnana, and he mentally cut through the form of the mother. He is the same person who has achieved this bhava samadhi. He did not stop there. He went through all this. And the moment the form dissolved, his mind transcended all duality. Instantly, entirely dropping into unchanging peace. See, by this we need to conclude that in true bhakti, laya is never a trap, because the devotee's hand is firmly held by the divine. Why? Divine is only holding his hand because he held the divine's hand so firmly. The personal deity acts as a bridge, transforming the sweet emotional dissolution of bhakti into unshakable, luminous clarity of jnana. Now, do you want to achieve layam through any of the 5 sadhanas described earlier? Because if that laya has so many pitfalls, why should we go after them? Then what do we all want? Vinasha. Vinasha of mind. Elimination or destruction of mind. How do we achieve that? That is shown by Ramana Maharshi in the next sloka, that we will see in the next discussion. Let us prepare ourselves to understand that sloka. So as a homework, you engage in this basic pranayama and remain still following that. What do you have to do? Remain still. You do this basic pranayama as per the time permits. Then you remain still, I am saying, that's all. As thoughts arise, you should not entertain them. They are not entertained, but they are shown the door to exit instantly. That should become instant. A thought comes, you need to show it the door to exit. Don't apply any prakriya here. No God, no Guru, no object, no support of anything that is objective is recommended here. Why? Why are you so uncompassionate with us? Don't think like that. This is the path of, what are the path we are in now? Path of
Yoga.
Yoga. Now we are all yogis. Here, that's why there is no support is given to you. Remain like that for at least 5 minutes in that state. See, I am not saying very half an hour. So by this you should know that I am compassionate. Only 5 minutes you are asked to do. But here most important is, after you end the session, you recollect that state and comment on what is there in that suspended state of mind. So there I need thoughts, you may ask. Yes, at the end of the session, recollect that state of that 5 minutes and comment on what is there in that mindless state. Is it clear, or should I repeat? Here you need to be extremely alert but without thoughts. If you say as soon as I close my eyes there are no thoughts, then gone. Thoughts will be there and you need to exert to not entertain them, show them exit. See, it is all our willpower. If you really make up your mind that I will not entertain thought, then thoughts will slowly cease. Not only that, when are we doing this? Immediately after pranayama. There is a reason. So we are trying to take the benefit of pranayama in our own style. And we are not stopping at that layam. We are trying to move one step forward. Clear?
Maharaj, in the bhakti path, when what we had done earlier was to use that space and time methodologies or the prakriya to remove any coming thoughts. But that is not to be used here. We are just going to use a
Here
willpower.
no. Yes. So that was a very lofty portal. and we all have already used that and we attained fulfillment there. So now we are keeping it apart. I want you to take the best of this. Here, only when thoughts come, you don't entertain the thoughts and you remain still. And then after that 5 minutes, then you recollect that state. Don't immediately allow your mind to say that this is same as that or anything like that. Hear what is there. In that suspended state of mind, you analyze. And anyway, I am there available in the next session to hear your discoveries. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.